Test. Test. Right. Good afternoon, if there's anyone here. I'm not sure if I'm broadcasting, but we'll soon find out. Good afternoon. If there's anybody there, if you can see and hear me okay, let me know. Hi, Stephen. Can you see and hear me okay? I didn't go through the normal steps with the OCS. It just pressed one button. So please let me know if you can see and hear me okay. So if you can. Hi, Stuart. Welcome. So if somebody can please acknowledge if they can see and hear me, that would be excellent. Thank you very much, Stuart. Appreciate that. Brilliant. So let's get cracking. So I'll just close a few of these down. Thank you very much, Colin. Appreciate that. So let's have a quick look. Cheers, Stephen. Thanks so much. So these are the ones in blue are what we've got to or are on my shortlist, as you can see here, in play stats for Racing Ferrol. Favourites pre-match, 0-0, 72nd minute in the Secunda. So I'll just get up Edge so we can look at soccer stats. I've taken off the ad blocker. So we can just have a look at if there's any late goals in the Racing Ferrol matches. Great to see the Bundesliga back. Heidenheim, Union Berlin. The mighty Hoff playing Wolfsburg. Mainz against Bochum. Freiburg against Holstein Kiel. And St. Pauli at home to Frankfurt, who, well, St. Pauli have had trouble even scoring at home. So Frankfurt's odds look very big indeed. Is that down to the winter break? So all we're going to do here with Racing Ferrol is see whether these two have a reputation for late goals. Home for the home side. Well, you can see that already, can't you? With Racing Ferrol, very vulnerable. 76th to 90th minute, which is where we're heading to very soon. But they are the favoured side, as you can see by the stats. So it's not going to be a priority match, this one. We've got the big boys out today. And Empoli are 0-2 down to Lecce, which is a bit of a surprise based on the pre-match odds. Now, those with the glass half full would see that as a little bit of value, but we're not seeing anything, are we, from Empoli at the moment. That's 2-1 to Leicester City. Hi, Mark. Hi, Alan. Thank you very much for confirmation there. Brilliant. So Racing Ferrol do tend to do most of their conceding in the last 15 minutes. That's the Leicester lead. So I'll just take that off the watch list. And we were so close with Liverpool earlier on, looking for 3 goals before half-time. They only managed the 2, but that's the expectation of a 1.02 shot. So do remember that when Chelsea are up and running. Winter break coming back. So I'm not sure the stats will stand up in the Bundesliga today. It has to be a bit of a watching brief. Some of these sides may have worked on their weak areas during the winter break. At least that's what you expect of a professional football team. So we might see some performances contrary to what the seasonal form has suggested. This, as I said, did look a little bit high for Eintracht Frankfurt, considering this lot failed to score in all bar one home match all season. So very interesting odds for Frankfurt. As ever, you can have the confidence to take the market on, particularly if the seasonal stats continue. We've got the Dutch returning today, and it's FA Cup at 3 o'clock, of course. Premier League on Tuesday and Wednesday, so looking forward to that. So Racing Ferrol, last shot on target, 70th minute, so let's not get too carried away here. Hardly setting the world alight, these two, are they? Hatayspor and Rizespor, well, the 1.9 outsider are leading, so we can get rid of that one. Paris FC had a very strange result against Martigues recently. 1-2 defeat against the newly promoted side. Came from absolutely nowhere, that one. And that was a 1-0 lead for Paris at half-time. Amiens, well, they do concede 2+ goals of late, as you can see. So I don't think they're going to be troubling Paris FC too much. Looks like a dominant display from them. So unlikely we'll be finding a trading angle there. Alaves and Girona is a 0-0. This is an Alaves who love their draws, but they tend to be score draws, as you can see there. So again, we can head off to Soccer Stats and just have a quick look. Whether we expect late goals from these two. I would have thought this would be a lot more competitive, but I'm sure Alaves are sick of the sight of the draws, a bit like Udinese last season. You can see there, oh dear, sick of the sight of them. Scoring goals? Well, they have scored and conceded in the last 5 have Alaves, and scored and conceded in the last 2 away have Girona, but no goals yet. Again, are we going to see any late goals? 16th against 8th, and this could be the reason, keeping it very tight against the big boys, aren't they? Particularly mid-table, 1-1, 1-0 and 0-0. So they've got a reputation, particularly against the top 10, of not really scoring too many, and against 4th to 10th of keeping it a little bit tight. That might suggest why it's 0-0. Girona themselves, well, all this cluster of wins against 14th and lower, again, suggestive that they should be getting something out of this, but really struggling to score that second goal away from home. Only the once against Sevilla. Just the remnants of that cough from last week. Thankfully, got rid of very quickly. Alaves at home, scoring 4 goals in the last 15 minutes at home. Is this something they're going to be eyeing today? Girona, a little bit poor in the last 15 minutes, only the 3 goals scored. But are we going to be looking perhaps at Alaves trying to do a Sheffield United, get a late winner? We're already in that period now, the 78th minute, 75th to 90th minute. Only the 1 shot on target coming in the first half. 8 in the second half, a little cluster around the 72nd minute mark. Are they coming alive, Alaves? If they can keep a clean sheet and they can score as they usually do, they could be up for their first win in a while. This must be so frustrating for any manager. You're not losing, but you're not winning. And it was a bit of a goal fest the last time these two met. Will Alaves have it in them to get out of jail? Let's have a quick look at the Alaves match. This was Liverpool Accrington. As you can see, under 2.5 goals in the first half goal market. Very close. You could have got a 1-1 return just for that single goal. So it's all relative to the amount that you risk, isn't it? But let's have a look. Bring up Alaves. A bit quiet for our German friends. Coming back off European break. And 40 minutes in, Udinese have kept Atalanta very quiet indeed. A surprise 0-2 lead for Lecce, to be honest, against Empoli. Might be something we could attack at some point. You can hear I haven't done a live stream for a while. The old voice is not bearing up. To get the old lockets out or get myself a drink. So we'll keep an eye on this one. This could be something to target. The late draw. 1.4 already. Reasonably low. Coming into that critical moment for Alaves, where they've scored 4 goals already this season. 1.66. Expected goal ratio, 9 shots off target, another one as well. So they're really going for it, aren't they, Alaves? This is the time where they will score, or they've shown a reputation for scoring. So that's pretty good stuff. I don't think we'll bother too much with Esenler Erokspor at the moment. And there we go. Sakaryaspor have just equalised against Erokspor, but not a match we have too much interest in. The red card for Sen looks as if it's already been punished by Grenoble. Empoli and Lecce. Well, let's just break and have a look at these two on soccerstats.com as well. So Alaves, keep an eye, see if you can get short odds about that lay of the draw. Empoli and Lecce. First thing as well, do have a look at the Lecce goals because this is very unexpected. These are odds-on favourites in this particular list here. So we're just going to have a look at the Empoli match and Lecce. So let's work our way down. Well, 2 goals from open play. So that's deserved. Tete Morente and Kristovic. Is that Herschel Kristovic from The Simpsons, Krusty the Clown? Herschel Kristofsky. 0-2. So looks like it's deserved. And it's one-way traffic as well. So not going to get involved just yet, but I always recommend 2-0 is a good entry point, isn't it? Because your liability is as low as possible. So in that regard, having a go for an evens favourite at home, you're not going to lose much money if it doesn't come off. And the in-play stats are suggesting let's not just jump in just yet. It's the Empoli don't look to have turned up, do they? Udinese and Atalanta. Well, a strong performance from Udinese on a run of a win and 2 consecutive draws. Atalanta's recent defeat coming against Inter Milan in the Super Cup, the Mickey Mouse Cup held in Saudi Arabia, is the fact that they've had to travel to Saudi Arabia a negative today to bring in the old Saudi bucks. Barcelona had to do it, Real Madrid, Mallorca had to do it, Atletico Bilbao had to do it, Juventus had to do it. The Saudis are swinging the old cash-ometer, and Atalanta might pay the price. But let's look at seasonal form for Udinese and Atalanta. This is the time to use this website, soccerstats.com, because we've got a lot of embedded patterns, don't we? And it's been so accurate as well, because we've got so many games under our belts, and the patterns are obvious, aren't they? Brilliant performance from Atalanta since the 28th of September. It takes a rare one to take even a point off them, or 2. Bookmarked by 2 score draws, but apart from that, absolutely nothing to complain about if you're an Atalanta fan. Udinese on an unbeaten run of 3. The win against Fiorentina, for me, particularly impressive, given Fiorentina's winning suit of late. They have been in exceptional winning form, and that put to bed, well, that didn't actually, that was an away win. But the recent draw with Torino, which was a big surprise to see goals in a Torino match. Watch out, they're playing in the Turin derby later on. A big surprise to see 4 goals in a Turin match. So Udinese keeping Atalanta quiet. Do Atalanta have a good second half scoring record? Well, they have scored in the last 15 matches and in the last 7 away matches. So they'll be feeling confident of a breakthrough. We've got a suspended market. 9th against 2nd, it's a top 10 clash, but you can see quite clearly that Udinese score and concede against the top 4 without necessarily winning. But that win against top 6 Fiorentina was very recent, so that might bear some attention. But we're normally expecting at least 2 goals conceded. Atalanta rarely put a foot wrong. We'll take off the Inter Milan result. They're just a step ahead, really, aren't they, at the moment, Inter? But Udinese did score 2 against Inter Milan, scored 2 against Lazio. So they could offer us some hope today. But Atalanta don't tend to fall foul if they do concede first. That's Heidenheim scoring first against Union Berlin. Not a match we've got a strong opinion on. 44% only for over 2.5 goals for Udinese at home. 50% away. Not very good over stats for these two. Second half goal scoring. Can this salvage Atalanta? Well, quite a big story, particularly from the hour mark onwards. 8 goals scored away from home from the hour mark onwards. So 60 minutes might be a point for us to take note of. They are most vulnerable at the end of the beginning of the second half, aren't they? 5 goals conceded at the beginning of the second half for Atalanta. So we've got to be a little wary with that. We've got a bit of a way to go until we reach that period, but they are the dominant force at the moment. Don't forget, they've got those 2 goals against 2 of the top 5 at home. Leicester City and QPR is a bit of a humdinger, 3-2 now. But I don't think I've got a trading interest in that particular match. It would be nice. I think, did QPR score first? No, they didn't. So there's no real trading angle there at all. Racing Ferrol coming to the end of the match. Have they continued with that pressure? Well, no shot on target for 20 minutes. Still chipping away with the odd shot off target, but it's in the last 15 minutes they're most vulnerable. 8 corners. I don't think it's one to lay the late draw in. And you can see the momentum has been very flat. There hasn't been a real time in the match where they've looked as if they would bring up the attacking pressure index. You can see it's all straight all the way across. A bit of a damp squib. But if you are interested, now is the time to get involved at very, very short odds. Please, in this kind of a league, with these two's reputation, you've got to keep your interest as low as possible. So I wouldn't put you off doing a 109 and a 106. That will capture any late goal, and it will cost you about £4. £32 for 106. So this is the way to do it. If you want to have an interest in the match and you don't want it to cost you too much. Frankfurt have scored first against St. Pauli. That's likely the end of the match. St. Pauli failing to score in all bar one home match this season. I thought Frankfurt's odds was ridiculously high, 2.35, 2.25 earlier on in the day. The only reason I can think of that is the market just not quite reading the return from the winter break. Again, as I said to you at the beginning of the live stream, take on the market, because I suspect, well, the goal's been disallowed. Some of these traders might be a little bit lazy, not doing their due diligence. The goal has been disallowed, but it is a shot across the bow. Could be things to come for St. Pauli. What we really want as traders is for St. Pauli to score first, given the fact they've even struggled to just score. So scoring 1 goal might see them vulnerable. 1.68 Alaves attacking pressure index. They do score, but only 2 shots on target. And just a smattering of shots off. And again, if you wanted to play here on the basis that this looks like a tactic, doesn't it? Like a Sheffield United tactic, try to nick the 1-0 as late as possible. But let's not get too carried away. Again, they're just not shown up, have they? Alaves and Girona. See if we can get back to that match. Alaves and Girona. It's one of our starting matches. So again, the goal times. 4 goals scored. I know it's not much to work with, is it? It's not much to get us too excited with. Not like Sassuolo, if you look at them. Loads and loads of goals from them second half. That's all we've got really to look at for Alaves. They do score draws. They don't do draws. They don't do 0-0s. 90th minute, Danny Gomez. 67th minute, 68th minute, and there's the goal. It's gone to Girona. So if you did lay the late draw, it's a neutral play, don't forget. Well done. That's all I'll have to say. If you did play on that, in the hope that Alaves would score, of course. But now, this is the tightrope you walk when you're trying to do a 0-0 and nicking a late goal. What's plan B when the opponent scores? So if you did lay the draw, don't wait for me to do it, please. I know a lot of you are experienced now and you'll go off on your own and do these lay the draws off your own back. We got the wrong Spanish match, didn't we? I should have gone for the Alaves 106, 109. We might have got a bite out of that. Freiburg have scored first against Holstein Kiel. That's no surprise at all there. It's a bit of a watching brief for the Bundesliga coming off the back of that winter break. Bayern Munich have had a record, particularly in 2023. They failed to win their first 3 matches post-winter break in 2023. So it is could be a real problem. Alaves Girona, I really hope you laid that draw. I don't know how short it would have been. And that's the beauty of playing neutrally, isn't it? So we were clinging to that little stat there, looking more at Alaves to get the goal rather than Girona. But this is the beauty of playing neutral. Nothing really in Girona's away form to suggest they'd nick the winner. I wonder if that was an unlucky penalty or something. Mainz scoring first against Bochum Dano, as befits the odds. So we're not getting many surprises or tradable opportunities just yet. Let's have a look at that goal for Girona. Was it well deserved? Or was it an upset? Was it an own goal? Let's have a look. Solis Romero pounces on a loose ball inside the box, beats the keeper. Well done, Solis Romano. And well done to you if you did lay the draw. Hope you're all okay over at YouTube. Well done, Mark Mansfield. This is what I'm talking about. Taking your own action. Fabulous stuff, Mark, and well done. Neutral, neutral, neutral. It doesn't matter, does it, Mark, who scores? Well done. Mark's a good example there. Going off your own back. Don't just copy, because you're not going to get anywhere if you can't make your own decisions. You've seen we've had a very, very tough week. We have to be a little disciplined because it's such a poor coupon. Let's be honest. If I'm clambering to get involved with Kilmarnock and Motherwell, it just tells you, oh lordy, I'm really not interested, mate. You'll note today I probably won't be touching the Motherwell match today, because we've got better candidates, don't we? We've got teams who are more readable from better leagues. So well done, Mark Mansfield, and I hope one or two of you followed Mark's steps and took your own action there. If you were taken by the argument, and if you're looking at the in-play stats as well, and if the liability is low enough, have a pop. You can see with Racing Ferrol, I think we've made a good decision, but we're highly unlikely to see the goal now because the clock's going to catch us out. But this is some really good pressure later on from Racing Ferrol, but we do know that they tend to concede more at the end of the matches, not necessarily score at the end of matches. Sorry, Football 24 just disappeared. There we go, got it back again. That's ended 0-0, Racing Ferrol. So that's cost you little. Ditto that lay of the draw in the Alaves match. That would have cost you little as well. I wish I'd followed up on that. Empoli and Lecce, there is possibilities there. Did we have a look at this one? I think we did. If we can move forward. Empoli and Lecce. What conclusions did we come to? I think we moved to the next page. No, this page here. So let's just remind ourselves whether Empoli have anything to them in the second half. The research at footballtradingprofits.com did suggest unders. So this is a bit of a shock. You can see Lecce failing to score in the last 2. Did score 2 goals against Monza. But that's the first time they've scored 2 goals since 21st of September. So it's not a regular habit, is it? Empoli, for their sins, did score 2 against Atalanta. One of them was a penalty, and the other, no, one of them was a penalty, and the other was Charles de Catalera in the 34th minute. Did score 4 against Hellas Verona. Again, all of them first half. They're not regular 2-goal scorers either, are they? And looking at the challenge table will just give you an indication of how they're supposed to get on against the bottom side. Well, we haven't got much to work off, have we? Where's that second goal for Empoli at home? Looks rather like St. Pauli. 0-0, 0-0, 1-0, 1-0, 1-0. Do you really expect them to score 2 goals all of a sudden? It was 1-1 the last time these two met. Lecce doing all of their winning against fellow strugglers, you'll see. 0-2 lead could be that cushion to get the 3 points, which could get them out of the relegation zone today. This is not a good sign, is it, if we want to take on this Lecce lead? In-play stats as well aren't giving us any good vibes either. But if you did want to take on Lecce, given the fact they're in the relegation zone, and this could be a bit of a nosebleed for them, they don't know what to do. They've not been in this position before, really, that often. It's very layable at very low odds. And that's what it's all about. While we're waiting for the bite, we can still have a nibble. 1.2 to lay Lecce and back Empoli at 22s. Up to you if you see a little bit of value in that for an evens favourite. But this is unexpected, and this lot, where's that second goal at home? That's the negative there. And they haven't turned up stats-wise either. Udinese and Atalanta, we know a bit later, 60th minute onwards. It's probably the best place to start looking. Atalanta, 8 goals in the final half hour of away matches. And it's one-way traffic for Udinese, hoping to build on that unbeaten run of 3, where they've scored 2 goals in 2 of the last 3 matches. Not as I say, only Fiorentina, the eye-catching one. But if you're scoring 2 goals against Torino, that's probably a positive as well, isn't it? Because they're so defensively led. Paris FC match has ended, putting to bed that loss against Martigues last week. A real surprise 1-2 defeat there. And the Wolf have scored against the mighty Hoff. You know all about the Hoff goals before half time. So I know a bit of a watching brief at the moment, given the winter break. But they're up and at it as usual, the Hoff. We see that goal before half time. I think on form, Wolfsburg should be eyeing something here. We can do a soccer stats look. I did a soccer stats look at the review preview video on a couple of these matches. This is the ideal way to look. Let's have a look. You'll see immediately the first half goals stats pattern for the mighty Hoff. So let's have a quick look. Moving on down. Well, they've conceded in the last 8 at home, and the Wolf have scored in the last 7. Scored and conceded both sides recently as well. And work our way down. 15th against 11th. Big problems for the Hoff. 2 wins have come against the bottom 2. It's a poor season for them. They've got goals in them, but they're awful defensively, aren't they? Wolfsburg look a little more accomplished, particularly against 10th and lower, who they're playing today. Look at all those consistent wins against sides around the Hoff. It's the first half that I was going to refer to, as you can see there. 7 goals conceded, 16th to 30th minute, and they've done it yet again, pretty much on the button with that particular goal, the Hoff, about the 30-minute mark, as you can see there. So this is an embedded pattern. Something goes wrong in those 15 minutes consistently. In the second lot of 15 minutes and in the second lot of 15 minutes in the second half. I don't know if there's a tactical change that takes place or something that produces this, but yet again, Wolfsburg have taken advantage of. It is quite a big set of goals, isn't it? 7 goals conceded, 16th to 30th minute. So there's obviously something going up with the Hoff, and they've done it yet again. Maybe if they don't score in the first 15, they try really hard to get it in the next 15 and just get caught out. Consistent. 4-4-4 in each of the 15-minute quadrants in the first half. 4 again in the last 15. That's some real good goal scoring. And you see that as well. 67% of their goals scored at home have come in the second half, in the first half. So were this not a winter break, we could have looked at taking on the first half 0-0. And Eintracht Frankfurt, hopefully this goal will stand for them at the moment. Really solid odds for them today. If you just look at St. Pauli's home form, it's bewildering. As I say, I think it's some laziness from the market makers. Some of them just not doing their due diligence, because 2.25 about Frankfurt against a side who can't even score at home is a late Christmas present, to be honest with you. We've had this before, haven't we, with Accrington Stanley. I know they got drubbed by Liverpool earlier on, but in one of their previous matches, they were scoring 2 goals for fun. Their odds were 3.8, and I think they won 1-3 or something like that. So outstanding stuff. 3 o'clock's the beginning in the FA Cup. It's all about the odds-on favourites for me to start off with. Don't forget Chelsea. You saw the example with Liverpool. I know I stretched it a bit by looking for 3 goals before halftime, but that's what 102 suggests. You could have a look at the team news as well to give you some added confidence or otherwise. Gui, João Felix, George, and Nkunku. So it's a spattering of new players, and some who don't normally get a first team outing like João Felix. Gui, I've never heard of. Marc Gui. He tends to be on the bench. That's why we've not heard of him. Not in the squad and on the bench. So it's like the Liverpool team. You're going to see a few members. Well done to Alan. He also laid less than over 0.5 goals. Laid over, I think. Well done to Alan and well done to Mark. Brilliant stuff. Hopefully we'll catch you a few others. Stoke have taken the lead against Sunderland in the FA Cup. This is a 2.05 Stoke, Sunderland, who were 1.8 pre-match. Not going to be as confident as Aston Villa yesterday. They were 1.65 at home when a goal down to West Ham. It's all about whether the Black Cats are up for a cup run, or some of the managers with a bit of nous try to shake off these cup competitions as early as possible, get themselves free of this congestion for the fixture lists, and try to aim to go straight back up. Head-to-heads are going to be irrelevant. It's all about attitude from a manager downwards about whether the Black Cats are up for the cup run. The thing we have going for us is the fact they're odds on and at home. But they have drifted a little. Maybe that's down to some team news breaking. Managerless Plymouth. Wayne Rooney's left the Plymouth Grannies alone now and has gone back to Colleen. Wayne Rooney, brackets, football genius. How on earth he keeps getting jobs as a manager, Lord knows. I think he just learnt to tie his shoelaces last week, old Wayne. We've got another football genius a bit later on in Frank Lampard. Ethiopian Insurance are playing. I know you've got a few Ethiopian Insurance fans out there. We'll be keeping an eye on that one for you. So let's have a first look through the in-play stats. Anything to add to our watch list here, where you've got a possibility of taking on a Lecce lead, but the big negative is, where's Empoli's second goal going to come from at home? Udinese and Atalanta will be targeting, hopefully, the 60th minute, but Udinese have been scoring 2 goals of late against decent opposition. Fiorentina, because they've been on such a solid winning run. Those were 2 second-half goals, you'll note. And against Torino, who are a very, very defensive side. That was 1 second-half goal scored there, but 0-0 against Verona. Slight disappointment there for Udinese. Great to see the Belgian Jupiler League back. We've got an odds-on Fav at home. Westerlo, 12th against 14th, so not exactly a standout match. So looking at the English FA Cup, it's all down to in-play stats today. So this already, because it was a pre-match 1.8 favourite, but done a bit of a drift out to evens or even higher with the bookies. Sunderland, again, that could be down to team news. I'm not so sure. So we'll work our way down. Burnley, odds on against Reading. We'll be alerted to that, all of our odds ons here. Got a red card for Union Berlin. Already a goal down to Heidenheim. I don't think Heidenheim need an invitation to make the most of that. They've been very competitive this season. So that's likely a bye-bye for Union Berlin. St. Truden scoring first against Westerlo, who are pre-match evens favourites. So that might interest us after only 5 minutes as well. 2 of the lesser lights coming off the back of a winter break. It's not exactly a solid profile, but why a Westerlo favourite? While it's a little quiet, we can use soccer stats. 2-0 already for Freiburg. And we've got a goal for Queen of the South in what is likely to be an illiquid lower tier in Scotland. So we won't be interested too much in that one. But why pre-winter break will Westerlo fancied? Long break since the 26th of December. Don't look that hot, do they? So maybe it's the challenge table that will indicate something. And indeed, at home, they'll be expecting to pick points up, will Westerlo. Look at that, solid home form. Only losing to the top 4 at home. Not played St. Truden. Yes, they have. They lost 2-0 to St. Truden at St. Truden. And St. Truden themselves, against 10th and lower, will be fancying it themselves, won't they? So it's a difficult one to unpack. And there's a first goal back for Empoli. Did you take on Lecce? Did you back Empoli at 22s? I didn't get round to it myself. I get caught out by these immediate goals in the second half. But look at the drop in Empoli's odds, down from 20s down to just for that single goal. So, as I say, if you're going to take on a team and you don't quite fancy the home side, but they were favourite, then 0-2 is your perfect point, because just for that single goal, look at the drop. 20s down to 7.5. Just with one goal. Not only that, having laid Lecce at odds on, you're getting a little bit of a rise upwards as well. So you get doubly impacted there. So there must have been a reason why Empoli were odds on favourite pre-match. Again, if you followed in there yourself without waiting for me, well done. Not a huge drift, but 22's down to 6.2. Wait for the market to just tighten itself up a tad, and you'll be sitting on a green, I would hope. So well done if you dipped your toe in. It's one of those dip your toe in matches, isn't it? Certainly. So well done if you played. Evens favourite at home. Unexpected 2-goal lead for a side who rarely score 2, but then you've got to trust the home side who rarely score 2 at home. But they got that goal. Really good half-time team talk, but I got caught out by the earliness of the goal. I did mention could be possibility to have a go at that one. And if you did, it's your first cash out opportunity. Second half begins. Atalanta have not turned up just yet. No excuses. There's no Champions League next week. It'll be the week after, from the 20th onwards. We've got European club competition. So a strange performance from Atalanta today. But are they going to come alive 60th plus minute? And is it going to be down to a change in substitutions? We will see. Sunderland, we know now. Odds on favourite at home, or at least they were. Are they up for the cup? Westerlo, pretty solid home form, isn't it? And they look to have come alive, Empoli, don't they? Really solid home form for Westerlo. Is that enough to tempt you in? It's a very tricky one coming off the winter break, particularly in such poor form. But put it into context, really solid, isn't it? But then again, so is St Truden against this lot, 12th and lower. 15 dangerous attacks to none could be of interest to us. And again, if you are taken by the arguments, why don't you have a go? I could show you how to attack that particular match. But it's a tricky one. It's a lower tier. We're coming off the back of a winter break as well. And this is not Bayern Munich versus Dortmund, is it? As ever, take out your insurance. It's got a 12-second gap as well, which is a big negative because I've had it in the past where a goal has popped in just as you're about to pull the trigger. +1. Is it Westerlo at home? Westerlo +1. This would be based on a home form. It's the market saying, well, we're okay about this, and 1.84 is reasonable enough. But I must pre-warn you, these aren't the best teams in the world. This is coming off the back of a winter break. But I just wanted to show you if you fancied following up on this particular match. You could, of course, take the neutral route. Probably a bit skinny for overs. You could move up to over 3.5 goal and try to look for a goal. But again, that's skinny. That does suggest, doesn't it? The market's quite keen on there being a few more goals in this match. Let's just hope that they fall to Westerlo. So Udinese putting a really good fist of it. Are you going to trust Empoli now to come back into this match? And West Bromwich Albion have scored first against Bournemouth. This is an odds-on favourite at home, Bournemouth. Again, are they up for the cup? That's the question. Can we just default to taking on Championship sides against Premier League sides? Is that gap in quality just too great, regardless of competition? If you think so, then this would be an ideal opportunity. If the goal is registered, and I think it is registered, there we go. And it should come up on this. We should be getting alerted to this by an auditory alert for any goal in an odds-on favourite match. We can check this. Look, 2-0, odds-on favourite. 1-0, odds-on favourite scored. Atalanta, 60th minute, don't forget. 8 goals scored. But Udinese are dominating the in-play stats. Fascinating match, this one, in Serie A. Odds-on. And this was lower odds than Aston Villa's yesterday, so that gives you some indicator of what we're expecting. But as ever, are Bournemouth up for the cup? That's the problem. I don't know what the first 11 for Bournemouth would be. If you've got any Bournemouth fans, tell me where the changes have been made. Well, there's a cartoon character there. Is that Nigel Winterburn or any relation? The ex-Arsenal defender. Cliver, he's a first 11 player. Che Adams, is it? I don't really know the first 11 off by heart for Bournemouth. Arrizabalaga, of course, familiar name. On the bench, again, I don't know. But Iriola is a hell of a manager, isn't he? So it's all up to whether Bournemouth are up for the cup or not. And looking at that response, it's not a bad response. 2 shots off 2 corners. It's tricky when you're playing the cup because if you make a loss, you know, you'll just blame the fact that we shouldn't be playing or we should be a bit more disciplined in the cup. So it's a tricky one. Are Bournemouth up for it? They've got Premier League on Tuesday or Wednesday. If you did want to play, laying over 1.5 goals would be an option there. With Bournemouth +1, might be a little skinny. Don't forget, you've also got the half-time market if you really want to limit your liability, of course. Bournemouth +1 is likely to be a little skinny. I would say about 1.6 There we go, bang on the button there. So that's a little bit skinny. You can tell the return you'll get here, £21 if you don't cash out, minus the insurance, £3.20. Normally with 1.57, it does suggest you go match odds, and you're getting decent odds considering it's only 16 minutes in. But are they up for the cup? There are no replays with this FA Cup, so I think the draw will still be alive. You split your stake. Can they do what Aston Villa did yesterday? Is the gap between Premier League and Championship just too insurmountable for the Championship side? Can we trust the cup? So many questions to answer. I'll just pass this on to Telegrammers if they wanted to play. I'm not going to provide screenshots for them today. So excuse me for a sec. Live stream at the moment, so there won't be any screenshots while I'm doing a live stream. But oh, we've got a suspended market. No. West Brom have opened the scoring against Bournemouth. Bournemouth were the market's 1.5 favourite pre-match. Aston Villa did it yesterday, coming from behind at 1.65. Lots of question marks. That's the problem with this cup. Are they up for it? Bournemouth, can they be bothered? So we could lose here. But if you're trusting the market like you did with Villa yesterday, took 50 quid out of the market there, you could lay over 1.5 goals to cover that 0-1 for the Baggies. Go into the match odds because the Bournemouth +1's a bit skinny. Half stakes back Bournemouth. Half stake is liability, lay West Brom. That leaves a small loss on the draw to hopefully incentivise you to go for the bigger profit on Bournemouth. If you want to see it all placed, please come along to the live chat. It's at youtube.com/@football trading profits. So you can see the dilemma we have, can't you? What's the other way to get out of this dilemma? Is to possibly look neutral, like Mark and Alan did earlier on by laying that draw. Looking neutral, well, it's a good response. 4 shots off 2 corners. Of course, if you're watching the match, you're probably going to get a lot more confident. And thank you very much for Stephen Francis for just highlighting that Stokes' goal against Sunderland was a penalty. It's very important to know that because it can give you a little bit more confidence that the Black Cats might be up for this today. And Stokes' lead has an element of luck to it. So thanks very much, Stephen, for that. You can tell that there. 3 minutes in as well. So they're a tad lucky, Stoke, to be ahead. Don't forget, we're coming to the hour mark. Udinese and Atalanta. But Atalanta haven't turned up. Let's go back to the Udinese-Atalanta match. It's somewhere on this group here, if I can get to it. Udinese-Atalanta. It'll just remind you of Atalanta's dominant goal scoring in the 60th minute onwards. 8 goals scored, I believe. Just double check that. In the goal times table here. 8 goals scored in the last half hour of away matches. If they can get past this critical time, because that's where they concede the most goals. It's about 50-50 for Udinese, but they have been scoring 2 goals readily of late against decent opponents as well in Fiorentina and Torino with their defensive bent. But we need to see whether Atalanta are going to wake up, or indeed we might want to look at the 60-minute mark for substitutions. They just haven't turned up, have they? Are we going to see managerial changes? And is that the reason why they start scoring again 60th minute plus? Do they have some substitution, some injury concerns? Pulisic up front. Lookman has been in excellent form this season. Any injury concerns? Cuadrado, Escamaca. I don't know, again, who the It might be worth my while, exercise-wise, to just make note of the first 11s, because it's difficult to assess the strength or otherwise of a team if we don't know what the first 11 or the ideal player is in their position. We know all about Pasalic and Lookman, of course. Zappacosta, familiar name as well. But I don't know much about anybody else. Is that a reason why? Zaniolo and Sulemana, some familiar names, but I don't know the first 11 for Atalanta, so I can't really tell whether this has been a jigged about Atalanta side. It's just Udinese in confident form at the moment. But you can see they're waking up slowly, getting to this hour mark. Now's a chance. And this looks very interesting indeed for Bournemouth. An excellent response from them. So liking what I'm seeing from Bournemouth. There's the Exeter City Oxford match. I'll just bang a bit on. Again, Bournemouth. Looking good, isn't it? Very good response. Are they up for the cup? It looks like they are, doesn't it? So bang that in. And Albacete. I thought I saw the Atalanta Bergamo, but no, it's Albacete getting a goal. It still remains 0-0, Udinese and Atalanta. Are we going to see one of those 8 goals? What I should have done really with the Atalanta match, should have laid that over 0.5 goals at half time. I didn't think about that. I want to show you that technique. Sorry about that. What I should have done, laying over 0.5 goals at just before half time at 0-0. That way you're going to get an out of kilter where you're going to be making a profit if it remains 0-0 on the lay of over 0.5 goals. And all the while it remains 0-0, the draw odds get lower and lower and lower. And you can make yourself a real risk-free play for a pretty good return. So sorry about that. It's one of my new techniques. Bournemouth and West Brom, there we go. So that's looking quite good, isn't it? I like the reaction. Really solid stuff. We know the Cherries are in pretty good nick. They are at home today. Can they do what our old pals Aston Villa did yesterday? That would be excellent. So Udinese Atalanta, we are now at the point in the match. And I wish I'd done that for you, because it would have been a really good example of how we can profit from this. So hopefully I'll get an opportunity to do this if we get another 0-0 where we're expecting goals at half time. So I've missed the boat now. And all the while, the draw odds are getting lower and lower and lower. And had I have laid over 0.5 goals at about half time, you normally at half time, you get about 1.3. You can see that's the half time there. So if you lay over 0.5 goals to win, not to win your whole stake, but to win half of it, £20 for me, that tends to work. And then you'll be making that profit. That will be profit already before you've even laid the draw. And the great thing about it is if you do get a goal, the liability is so low, you're not going to miss it. But if you don't get a goal, all the while you're making a profit here as this rises. And these odds get lower. And if you're going to use your full stake of 40, you're making a bigger return if we see the expected goal. So I'm sorry about that. Just missed the boat a little. I should have thought about that beforehand. So I'll do that with another 0-0, perhaps in the Chelsea Morecambe match, for example. 26 minutes in, you could do what you did in the Liverpool match. 1.02 Bring me sunshine for older Eric. That's the market you tend to go to for a 1.02. But you saw with Liverpool, they just got a 2-0 at half time, so you didn't really win. But you would make a 1-to-1 return if you get that goal. So we've got a suspended market in one of our matches of interest. I wonder who that is. Are we going to rue? And there we go. There's that Bournemouth goal. Fantastic stuff. And it's come at such an early time that you can cash out if you wanted to. So you're going to make that loss anyway, £3.20. It's come before half time. You can either take the gift now or you can take the gift now or you can engineer that £8.46 loss plus £3.20 loss. If you want to take that loss of about 12 quid in the hope of winning 44, go for it. But if you're aching for some money, you make 15 quid out of that just for a goal before half time. So options at exit. We've got 2/3 of the match remaining. We've had an excellent response from Bournemouth to the goal. This is your first cash out opportunity. Okay. So take it if you want. That's 20 quid minus £3 insurance. Not too shabby, 17 quid without the side needing to win the match. Okay. So do bear that in mind. We did what we did with Aston Villa yesterday, trusting the Premier League side. Well, they were playing West Ham, but trusting the odds-on favourite at home. And they're back to pretty much the odds that Aston Villa were at. Westerlo, 1 shot on, 2 off, 3 corners, 29 dangerous attacks to 9. Can we trust that? This is a critical time for Atalanta. They've woken up, 1 shot on, 1 shot off, 1 corner. It's far better than no shots on, no shots off, no corners, isn't it? Any substitutions for our old pals Atalanta? That could be what brings them their goals. And they're not, there's the other odds on here. Any subs? Let's have a look. Yes, Pulisic is off. Samardzic is on. Lookman is off. Zaniolo is on. Are they regular players? Let's have a look. Well, he's getting a regular games, isn't he? He was on the bench there, but he's getting regular games here. So that's good to see. And the other player was, let's just bring him up. Samardzic. Where does he play as well? He's a midfielder. Lazar Samardzic. He got some regular games as well. So I think this is the amount of time he gets on. So he's used as a substitute. Got a full game against Cesena in the Coppa Italia. But he's normally used as a sub. And you did see that this could be the change that we're looking for the possibilities. Chelsea missed the pen, says Stephen. Oh boy. If you went into the first half goals market, that would be very disappointing. They normally, I think, use these matches as kind of training kind of matches, try out different tactics, try out different players in different positions. 1 shot on 7 off 5 corners. That would have been a well-timed goal, particularly if you went into the first half goals 2.5 market there. So missed penalty for Chelsea. Let's bring up the Udinese-Atalanta match. I would have been keener to have laid that draw in the Atalanta match myself, had I taken that insurance out. So hopefully that's something I can show to you in another match. Because as it stands now, you'll be laying the draw in the hope that we get a goal. But you can do 1/3 of liability as loss if you wanted. How long are you willing to delay, knowing that this is the critical time where Atalanta score their goals? Udinese, don't forget, coming off the back of a 0-0 against Verona recently. So despite scoring 2 goals of late, they're also a bit defensively sound as well. So they're a tricky side to weigh up, Udinese. They've obviously kept Atalanta, very, very quiet indeed. So 70th minute now, 20 minutes to go for Atalanta. 2 substitutions are on. All the while, this is the great technique. You're making profit here all the while. Look, you'll have laid at half time at 1.3, already up to 1.9. You'll be having a head start. So if you're going to lay the draw here with a get out at a third of liability, you will be guaranteed almost a break even if you get to that third of liability without a goal. More importantly, you'll be making a far juicier return. 45 quid. I've got this as high as, I think, 57 quid for a successful lay the draw. So it's well worth trying, and hopefully something I'll show you. Any nil-nils that stand out at the moment? Well, the Chelsea Morecambe one could be one. Nottingham Forest and Luton, but they're all cup matches, so they could arguably, it's all about attitude, isn't it? Bundesliga, not seeing many nil-nils there, so a good return for what is a very good league. I want to show you this, and I hope it will make sense to you. It can give you an opportunity as well to start attacking all draws, really. If you get a 1-1 at half-time, that suggests a goal second half. That way, you go into the 2.5 goal market, wouldn't you, for a 1-1? You'd be laying the 1-1 at half-time or before half-time. Then you'd be delaying and waiting for the draw odds to get lower and lower and lower. The lower they get, if you're using a standard liability, the bigger the return. You could also just use the £20 that you're using to lay in this. I'm always looking for ways to limit our liability and still give us a decent profit. Delaying could be the watchword here. So really good performance from Udinese. I'm not sure what to do here at all, given that 0-0 recently for them. And you can see with Empoli, where's that second goal? If you did get involved at half-time, and we've got a suspended market, is that a goal in the Udinese Atalanta match? No, it's 2-1 to Bournemouth. It is time for you to take the gift and get the bleep out of Dodge. You've got the win before half-time. I always tell you to get out. The last example of that could have been these guys here. I think Atalanta, a recent, was it Atalanta recently? I'm not too sure, but one of these two sides was 2-1 at half-time. I told you to get out last week, I think it was. And if you didn't get out, you'd have got done by a 90th minute equaliser. Take the gift. Sorry, let's get back in. Take the gift of the 2-1 lead to Bournemouth before half-time. Wait for the market to settle and cash out. You don't want to be caught out by a late West Brom equaliser. So it's a goal before half-time. It's a lead before half-time coming from behind. You're going to make a decent enough green screen. I would highly recommend you get out, take the gift. So let's do that now. Great to see. Well done to Bournemouth. It's always tricky with these matches, isn't it? Because Premier League sides in the cup, they want to shake it off, don't they? Want to get the bleep out of Dodge. Yeah, that's a decent return. Don't forget that's just promised to you. That's not guaranteed. That, take away £3. That's a lovely return for the amount we're risking, 30 odd quid. That's nice. Add that to your 50 quid yesterday for Aston Villa, and it's not bad, is it? It's what I call the mince pie fund. Take it and run to the hills. Or if you want to stay in, don't forget you've got options at exit. If you wanted to try to get most of that 40 quid, you could just get rid of that liability on West Brom and the liability on the draw. So don't forget, you have many options at exit. You've seen the likes of Alan and Mark make their own decisions. That's what I'd like you to do as well when you're exiting. You've got multiple options. Weigh up the amount of time left in the match, that kind of thing. Is there enough time for them to push on? Are the odds big enough for the opponent that I can get rid of that 40 quid liability? Yes, they are. 24s. How much will it cost you at 24s? Well, let's have a look. It cost you tuppence halfpenny. £1.74. Surely that's worth it, isn't it? So for the sake of a £13 extra, that's not guaranteed, is it? This is guaranteed now. It's what I call locked in. You don't have to worry about this match anymore. Baggage can go on and win for all we care. Lock it in when you get a lead before half time, particularly when they've conceded the first goal. Westerlo are looking quite good, aren't they? 2 shots on, 3 off 3 corners, 35 dangerous attacks to 11. Brighton have scored first against Norwich. Old Delia won't be happy, but it was on the cards. So with that in mind, let's have a quick stroll through the FA Cup. Leicester, job done. Get rid of that. Exeter and Oxford don't have a strong opinion, neither does the market, 2.63 the favourite. Reading and Burnley odds on favourite in this particular match, but no shots on target yet for either of these two. Does suggest the possibility that the Burnley manager is fielding a few of the nippers. Brentford against Plymouth, you would really expect the Premier League side to teach Plymouth a lesson. Plymouth have got bigger fish to fry, i.e. trying to get out of the mess that Wayne Rooney has created. Wherever he goes, basically. What was it? Birmingham, Derby? What an awful manager. Just clueless. But he's just a famous name. That's what attracts the board. But he's just hopeless. Taking home 5 figures a week for being awful at your job. Wish I could do that, mate. That'd be marvellous. Bournemouth and West Brom. You can leave that one alone now. Brighton deserved the lead, as you can see there. 80 on the attacking pressure index. 4 shots on, 5 off 2 corners. Looks like Forest are up for it against Luton, aren't they? Nuno Espirito Santo going to Europe. Brian Clough smiling as he watches. Fantastic stuff. And they're the similar odds to Bournemouth, similar odds to Aston Villa. We start seeing this pattern in the FA Cup. These Premier League sides are delivering. Check the team news out. Are we going to see Awoniyi instead of the mighty Chris Wood, football genius? Let's have a look. Are we going to see a much changed Forest side? Because they will need a break in this push for Europe. Yes, Awoniyi is up front. He is an excellent goal scorer, but he's not getting enough football because Chris Wood keeps scoring. Jota Silva, Sosa, Moreno. We're getting a few of the Portuguese turning up, aren't we? Ward-Prowse, big name. Yates, De Silva, Bowley, Morata, Toffolo and Carlos. It's a very Portuguese vibe about this from the Portuguese manager. He did the same at Wolves, didn't he? I do like watching Morata. Great player. So they've got some really solid side. Chris Wood on the bench in case they need a goal. Hudson-Odoi, Elanga. So a few of the first teamers are just having a break. Manager of the month, Nuno Espirito Santo, riding high and dominating this Luton side. Chance for Awoniyi, who's not getting much football, as you'll see here, because 15 minutes here against Everton, 4 minutes coming on late. Bit debilitating, and there's the first goal. That's probably Awoniyi. So no angle there. Would have loved to have taken that draw on second half. Chelsea have scored 40th minute. What a pity they missed the penalty. That would have been 2 goals out of the 3 we wanted in the first half, 2.5 goal market. So normally when you see a 1.02, you get the scoreline anything between 4-0 and 9-0. Pick 3 of them out and wish for the best of luck. I think earlier on with Liverpool, I think that was 4, wasn't it? Against Accrington. First goal for Chelsea, first goal for Forest. These 1.5, 1.6 favourites at home are doing a good job. Is it Awoniyi? We'd love to see him on the score sheet. It's Yates. Okay. Might see Awoniyi popping up a bit later on. He was a goal merchant before Chris Wood started scoring for fun. 78th minute. It looks as if this is the 0-0 against Verona Udinese, who are turning up today. Atalanta failing to score in the Super Cup. Are they being bogged down by that Saudi Arabian match? But surely not. It's 9 days ago. That's not really going to affect them, is it? But it looks like a very good defensive display from Udinese today. But are we going to lay that draw? And when are we going to lay that draw? Certainly, it will be a late lay for me, that's for sure. I'll be up for that. Looks like the Black Cats might be up for the cup. And thank you to Stephen telling us that Stokes' goal was a pen. And if you wanted to find out that information, as Stephen has, it's all available for you at Soccer24. It's important to know as well, particularly when it's a surprise. There we go, penalty there. So thank you for that, Stephen. So we're just waiting in the wings to see whether we can get a Sunderland equaliser. Evens only, so a bit of a risk. Not quite your 1.5 Premier League home favourite. So let's have a walk through the cup. Anything catching the eye? I would expect Brentford to do something here if they're up for it. That's the caveat. There must be one or two Premier League sides who don't want to have a cup run. Forest already job done with Yates and Chelsea. Inevitable, really. A goal before half-time. No real value to be had unless you ask them to score 3 goals before half-time. Norma Kalju, well, this is European friendly, so we can say bye-bye to that. Let's be disciplined. Already Freiburg are leading 2-0. Heidenheim and Union Berlin, red card for Union Berlin, so no real expectation of a reply from Union Berlin today. The mighty Hoff did get an equaliser against Dortmund recently in a 1-1. That was a second half goal late on for the mighty Hoff. On a run of 3 draws and a loss prior to the winter break. So keep an eye on the in-play stats here. We might see a reaction from the Hoff. And 3-1 to Bournemouth. If you didn't cash out, you've got to cash out now. That is a gift from the gods. You're going to make near 100% return on that. So if you did negate your liability, you'll have made a little bit more than I did. But it's still, it's a very welcome addition to the Betfair bank balance. Mainz and Bochum Dano. No surprise there for Mainz, Champions League bound as well. Pre-winter break, a nice win against Bayern Munich, wasn't it? And we didn't really get caught out with that one, did we? Because Bayern Munich were playing old Muller up front, who's slightly older than Joe Biden. Very, very poor selection for Muller. He's had his day in the sun, I think. A bit like signing Casemiro as a midfielder. He had his day at Real Madrid. Now he's off to cash in, like Neymar has done. 110 million for 40 minutes of football for Neymar. Nice work if you can get it, mate. We'll have to have a whip round for the poor lad. So nothing at all really doing. St. Pauli are threatening, but we know that they failed to score in all bar one home match this season. The value, of course, could be in laying Frankfurt. The odds are still relatively high, given St. Pauli's woeful home goal scoring. Let's get rid of a few of these. Mali, Malta, Mexico, Dutch, Eredivisie, Heracles against Sparta Rotterdam. Why don't we just have a look at this one while it's a little quiet? See if we can find a soccer stats angle. It's well worth you practicing this as well. Any matches you don't have an idea on, you might find that key angle in. Or like the Verona 0-0 recently against Udinese, it might just tempt you away from piling in. Well, Sparta in awful form pre-winter break, aren't they? Similar story for Heracles, but at home, far more accomplished Heracles. Only the 2 home defeats. One of them against PSV Eindhoven, the other against Ajax. That, to me, is very strong home form. Scoring 2+ goals as well, very, very regularly at home. You'll see that in the stats, current streaks and sequences, scoring 2+ goals in each of the last 5 at home. So surely should be favoured today, conceding in the last 16. Sparta, no win in 11, conceding in the last 8 away. Sparta, it's awful stuff. So you'd be favouring Heracles here, wouldn't you? Really? But then they've had a couple of 0-0s. Had a 0-0 against Sparta already this season and a 0-0 against Almere. It could be that the bottom sides are set up in a specific way to frustrate what was an Eerste-Divisie side a couple of seasons ago. They went up with Pek Zwolle, if you'll recall, dominating the lower tiers. Sparta away from home, a 1-2 win against RKC Valvik, bottom of the league, but problems failing to score there. Did score 2 against Willemsvee, so a bit hit and miss. They do have a goal in them against the top 9, but struggled against 11th, 13th and 14th. So a difficult one to read, really. Goal times, well, I don't know if we can rely on them, can we? Given we've had the winter break, but quite clearly Sparta, 71% of goals, albeit only 7. 5 of 7 goals scored away have come second half. 60% for both teams, 60% of goals conceded have come second half as well. Heracles, I would favour on the recent 2-goal scoring habit. But the problem is that, well, we've had that winter break, haven't we? But they've only lost to the top 2 at home. So we'll have to see about this one. That, I suppose, is the reason why it's a bit of a lukewarm market. 2.15 for Sparta, which is interesting. The Dutch Tweede division, they all wear tweed and smoke pipes. It's a very interesting division and talk philosophy at half time. We'll get rid of a few of these. Scottish Championship, well, I don't know if you want to look at Falkirk, Queen's Park. Had a recent 3-3 Falkirk. St Mirren and Dundee United. And there's a Westerlo St Truden. If you followed me in there, it was a bit of a risk. And if you did follow me in, because of St Truden's home form, I would highly recommend that you get the bleep out of Dodge. Okay? Because it was a risk coming off a winter break in such a poor league. So please take the gift. It's not going to be much of a profit, but it's a profit all the same. You're going to lose £2 insurance. Having backed at 1.84, probably going to go down to about 1.3. There we go. Just wait for the market to settle down. It's really not much of a profit, is it? So we'll have to wait just for the market to settle. It's a bit of an illiquid market given the secondary league status. And you see that gap. So we're heading towards half time. So just let the market settle and see if there's a decent enough profit. But it was a bit of a risk. It's up to you whether you follow this in or not into the second half. You can use the in-play stats to determine whether you want to stay in. And it's good stuff. 46 dangerous stacks to 15. That's nearly, what's that, 3 times as many. Not bad at all for Westerlo. Sunderland look like they might be up for the cup. Stokes, penalty. Half-time team talk? Well, we'll see, won't we? Will the Hoff get another 1-1? They had that 1-1 against Dortmund, conceding the first goal. So we will see there as well. Empoli, always that trouble with that second goal. But if you went 0-2 to 1-2, that was your out, wasn't it? Particularly backing Empoli at 20s, laying Lecce at odds on. Nice work. 88th minute now. This could be another hatchet job for Udinese, keeping them very, very quiet. There we go. What, 14 quid. So if you want to take a tenner out of that, considering it was such a dodgy couple of teams, or you could stay in. I will leave that up to you. We're going to have a look at Atalanta now. this could be one for another late lay. Got to be wary of that 0-0 recently. But if you wanted to start playing and looking to win a reasonable sum of money, then at lowest liability, lay at 1.18 to win a tenner. Move down, lay at 1.14 to win a tenner. Move down, 1.09 to win 23. 1.06 to win 32. That keeps your liability low and it will capture a very late goal. We know Atalanta have scored 8 goals from the 60th minute onwards. We also know that Udinese got that 0-0 against Verona last match. So this is an ideal entry point, isn't it? And all the while, had you been doing this, laying the overs, you have absolutely cleaned up. You could delay and delay all day long and then lay the draw now. And if that goal comes, boom. Well, Empoli 1, Lecce 3. That's the reason why you would be looking at staying in for that Empoli 2-2. They don't. Where's that second goal at home? A bit like St. Pauli, isn't it? So we're going to get a very low risk play here. And I'll put this one forward, I think, for members to definitely keep your liability low. Well, definitely get out of your Bournemouth if you didn't get out at 2-1, 3-1 before half-time. You've got to cash out. Udinese and Atalanta. Atalanta have scored 8 goals in the last half hour of away matches, but Udinese did have a 0-0 last match. So I would caution you, lay the draw now at low liability. If you wanted to, lay at 1.09 to win 23 quid. Lay at 1.06 to win 32 quid. Your liability will be about £3.90. Possible returns will be 50 odd quid. Can Atalanta break Udinese? Or will this be a second consecutive 0-0 for Udinese? It's not going to cost us much to find out. Well worth it, isn't it? With that goal reputation for Atalanta. I'm just going to get Football 24 back again because we've got a goal coming in. Huesca scored first against Mirandas. So let's take a look at that. Obviously a hatchet job from Udinese today, isn't it? They're looking to nick a 1-0. And as you saw earlier on with that neutral play, it doesn't matter who scores. Keep your liability as low as possible. This will be a poor performance for Atalanta. A surprisingly poor performance. Maybe it's down to Udinese's increased defensive bent in their last match away at Verona. Coppa Italia lost to Inter Milan, but a really solid win against Fiorentina without home advantage as well. And scoring those 2 goals against a very defensive Torino as well is pretty good going. Atalanta will be ruining this. I missed 3 points, particularly the title race. Going in Napoli's favour at the moment, Antonio Conte's side. 64th minute, no real movement from the mighty Hoff. So I wouldn't be taking on the Wolf just yet. Half times elsewhere. So you'll have to decide whether you want to play Sunderland. Do you like what you're seeing? Well, the dangerous attacks are very equal, aren't they? Not so if you look at the Bournemouth match. Well, they were very equal against West Brom, 20-22. So fair enough, I stand corrected. 17-18, but 2 shots on, 4 off. Is that a good enough response for you, for the Black Cats, to suggest they will equalise, or indeed that they're actually up for the cup? Brentford and Plymouth. This is one to show you. Let's have a look. So this is what I'll do here. Brentford and Plymouth. So get involved now. This is even lower. This will be half of my stake. You can see that's your maximum liability, £3.20. So if Brentford do get an early goal, all we'll lose here is £3.20. If we can get a match like the Atalanta match, where it's 0-0 for a while, these draw odds are going to drop markedly. So the idea here is to wait and hope that it continues to be 0-0 for a frustratingly long enough period for Brentford for these odds to get even lower and even lower. So we'll be making a profit here. We'll be making, we won't be making an entry here. So it would have worked fine with the Atalanta match. So that gives you an idea, but probably not a good example because the market's expecting goals from Brentford second half. Team news. We can have a quick look. It's going to be ever so cautious in these kind of matches, but 1.22. New manager for Plymouth, or an interim manager, Muslik, M. Muslik, not W. Rooney and his grandma. Let's look at the Brentford side. Have they made any real changes? Sade? Well, Sade, the 1980s jazz crooner, is playing up front for Brentford. Smooth operator, old Sade. So that's a new name for me. Probably multiple substitution. Yeah, well, got 16 minutes against the Arsenal. Looks like played a full set of fixtures here, now and again. So again, if you're a Brentford fan, you'll probably know the strength of the side better than me. 0-0 it ends, Udinese and Atalanta. So that's 2 consecutive 0-0s for Udinese. Carvalho, Damsgaard, familiar name. Magoma, Jensen, Yarmouk, that's a familiar name as well. Arthur, Collins, Flecken, Cognac, Lewis Potter, Mbuemo, normally a first teamer, is he? Jan Wisser. So not too sure. The in-play stats are in Brentford's favour. The market's certainly expecting a Brentford recovery second half. It's very difficult to find any value because it's all factored in by the market makers already. 4s plus to lay that draw. So we're at half time at the moment. I might just pop off, get myself a cup of tea because it is bleeping cold compared to the Gulf of Thailand. Preston Lyon about to kick off. We got a 0-0 for Lille yesterday. Bundesliga. Any real surprises? Well, while it remains 1-0, we're not. Are we seeing anything from Union Berlin? Not seeing much from Heidenheim with a goal advantage. Yeah, nothing really to play. All the odds-on favourites are leading. Some of the let's have a look at the Israeli matches. Odds-on favourites at least there. Heracles and Sparta, 25 minutes in at 0-0. So say would slightly favour Heracles on their goal scoring recently. So that might be one again to target that draw second half. Valladolid and Real Betis, I would have been favouring Real Betis here. I'm not going to be playing St Mirren Dundee. Learnt my lesson from Kilmarnock Motherwell. I'd rather be playing the Old Firm. Got a 1-1 earlier on against Ross County with a flurry of 3 late goals for Celtic. So I'm just going to have a small break now. Just going to get myself a cup of tea and then come back for the second half. So I will see you in a second. Right, cup of tea and some digestives. And the favourites in Germany are dominating 2-0 to Mainz, 3-0 to Freiburg. So second half will be beginning soon. An obvious look at a Brentford second half goal. Can we delay and get lower odds about that draw? That would be excellent. Hoffenheim, while they're keeping Wolfsburg quiet, they might do what they've done in 2 recent matches. Those 1-1s, scoring second half goals against Freiburg and Dortmund to get draws out of the matches. And they scored second half against Borussia Mönchengladbach as well. So they do have a record pre-winter break of doing something. Chocolate digestives. Cost a lot more in Thailand, so well worth it here. Fantastic stuff. So Miranda's red card, already a goal down to Huesca, so unlikely to be playing that one. Falkirk could be one to experiment with that 0-0. Let's try that one out. 4-1 to Bournemouth. So again, what I would do here, half of my stake, laying over 0.5 goals. Liability should be low. And wait. See if we can get lower odds about this draw. The lower the odds, or the longer we wait while it's 0-0, the greater chance we have of creating a break even if we don't see that goal that we wanted. So we'll have a chance, really good chance at laying that draw, but we'll have an out where it's hopefully we'll be in a position where we won't actually make a loss, but we'll have had a really good shot at there being at least a goal. I think we can get rid of the Bournemouth match now. 4-1. Job done there. Brentford is beginning against Plymouth Argyle. Only the 2 shots on target. So it's been a very, very quiet match for the Bees. Let's hope it remains like that for long enough for us to get shorter odds about that draw. So it's warming up nicely. Do you fancy Sunderland? That's the question. The Black Cats. Good response. Going a goal down, as Stephen told us, to that red card. So this would be a bit of faith. I do prefer the 1.6 Premier League favourites in the FA Cup because I know they've delivered. I'm not so sure about the Black Cats. So you're just going to be a little wary. Insurance at the beginning of the second half is going to be a lot more than you're normally used to. But by the same token, you should be getting over evens for Sunderland +1. indeed. So you could stay here in the +1 market. If you're looking for that Sunderland equaliser, if you think they're up for the cup, or if you know Sunderland well, if you're a Sunderland fan, that would be 46 minus 11 net profit if you can get that 1-1. Don't forget, you can always bail out of these insurances. Hope you're all well. Pa Kwesi Mensah, greetings. Nice to see you, Pa Kwesi Mensah from Ghana. I hope you're able to follow some of the thought processes today. And if you like the FA Cup, nice to have you here. Stade Brest have scored first against Lyon. Now, Lille yesterday made an absolute pig's ear out of an Auxerre red card. They couldn't score. Let's have a look at the Lyon-Brest match just to see whether there's any angle in. Brest against Lyon. I think Brest got a win last match against Reims. But let's have a look. No, they didn't. They lost 2-0 to Angers. Thankfully, a match I didn't get tempted into. Esteban Laporte and Ibrahima Niane, 90th minute winner for Angers. So that's a killer if you got involved with insurance. A late 90th minute goal. Lyon are looking in exceptional form, aren't they? Their only 2 defeats since the 30th of August have come against Marseille at home and Paris Saint-Germain away. They're looking decent, Nick, don't they? 2 clean sheets in the last 3. So that Brest form, albeit they're in a run of 2 consecutive home wins, Brest. So that deserves a little bit of respect. But they have come pre the small Christmas break that they had. Work our way down. 2 consecutive home wins, but look at Lyon's scoring. They've scored in the last 12 and in the last 6 away. So on paper, we might get the possibility here of a play. These biscuits are too addictive, I tell you. Should be a health warning. They're playing 5th today, and look at that record. It is awful. All defeats. Surely that's going to be worrying Brest and not so much worrying Lyon. 3 of their 4 defeats this season have come against the top 3. Takes a big boy to beat them. Although that Rennes loss looks a little bit of an anomaly. Did it come at the beginning of the season? Indeed it did. Opening match of the season. It looks very anomalous, doesn't it? So we could take that one as exuberance from Rennes in the opening match of the season. But they've really settled Lyon into a really solid, unbeaten pattern. So they do look on paper worthy of getting an equaliser or something out of this match. But why did the market not necessarily fancy them that strongly? Brest are very strong last 15-minute goal scorers, as indeed are Lyon. So we might get some late action there. As ever, as Stephen has shown us, let's just have a quick look at the opening goal for Brest. Was it deserved? Well, they're not odds on. Otherwise, they'd be in my odds on list. So let's go to all. Have a look at Brest. Opening goal, penalty, own goal, or was it from open play? M. Kamara, not really telling us. There we go. Right place at the right time. Get a rebound inside the box. Gleefully rifles the ball into the left side of the goal. So it's an early goal. But a bit worrying about the Lyon odds. They're not hugely favoured. Only just a shade over evens for an away side. Chelsea make it 2-0 rather inevitably. So certainly the Brest-Lyon match will be of interest. I'm just waiting for the match to unpack. And look at Westerlo. Are we going to see a 2-1? Certainly, if you didn't cash out at the 1-1, I would recommend you cash out if you get that 2-1. Dominating, aren't they? 52 dangerous attacks to 18. 65 attacking pressure index. Looking good. And while the Wolf are being kept at 0-1. Hoffenheim might have a chance at a 1-1. Make sure that those Wolfsburg odds are low if you're going to get involved. So let's have a quick look there. They have a history of second half goals, the mighty Hoff. 1.24. It's not going to cost you too much if you want to wait very, very late. 1.09 to win 23 quid. 1.06 to win 32 quid, just in case Hoffenheim have a late surprise. They got a 1-1 with the second half goal against Dortmund. They got that second half goal against Mönchengladbach. And they had another 1-1 recently against Freiburg, I think, with a second half goal. So they got it in their locker, but they're not very reliable. That's why I would keep my liability as low as possible. Plenty of secondary stats, shots off target. Lots of them going on for Hoff, but all very quiet on the shots on target basis. Falkirk and Queen's Park. Let's have a look at my experiment. And this could be something for us to start implementing more frequently. If you're willing to take that small hit, you start seeing a profit now. And the draw odds are starting to get shorter and shorter, as you can see here. It's probably half time is where you see that sideways movement. That will probably be half time. And they're getting nice and low, aren't they? The longer you can wait without a goal, the lower these odds will be. The more of a profit you'll be making here to compensate for the loss you'll be making eventually when you lay the draw. But the problem we have here is a lack of liquidity, isn't it? So it's a nice idea. Just want to see how often we can get involved like this. And if we're going to lose too much of that liability to make it worth it. But as I said, got a profitable one last week, 57 quid laying the draw just with that £40 stake. So well worth following up, isn't it? Westerlo are looking good. Did you get out? If you didn't get out, you'll be looking for that Westerlo second goal just to make sure that you can get out. It wasn't the greatest profit in the world, was it? Because it's not the greatest match on the planet. So if you wanted to get out now, you'd be making about, 13 quid or thereabouts, which you add to that Bournemouth win. And, it's very small stakes relative to what some other traders use. And it'd be a nice afternoon. Add that to your Aston Villa win from yesterday of £55 if you went match odds. And it's turning out that the FA Cup is pretty good, particularly for these Premier League sides at home. Just going to have to wait and see whether Lyon are up for it today. Certainly on paper, you'd be favouring them. Brest as well, coming off the back of that strange defeat in their last match when they weren't expected to lose that badly. Hope you're all okay over at YouTube. Yeah, seems to be going well. Hoffenheim, another shot off target. 85th minute. That's 2-0. We can get rid of that one now. It's a 1.95 favourite delivering. Beitar Jerusalem and Maccabi Bnei Reina don't have a strong opinion on that one. When we've got better quality football leagues, we can put the Israelis and the Belgians just on the back burner, can't we? Now, Sunderland, it's a tricky one because it's pretty much even Stevens. Shots on, shots off, corners, dangerous attacks. And it just doesn't scream positivity like Bournemouth did and like Aston Villa did it in the Cup. Unless you're a Black Cats fan, you'll know whether they've got or they favour a cup run or not. It's a tricky one. You can always bail out if you've taken insurance out. So that's something for us to think about, particularly if Sunderland don't wake up soon, because momentum-wise, the away side have just taken over on the momentum front. We do not want to see a 0-2. That will scupper any insurance plays. Brentford and Plymouth. Is this one of those that we delayed? Let's have a look. It was about 4.5 to lay that draw, wasn't it? So we've got, as you can see here, no, I thought we did it. Oh, 0.5 goals, yes. So we're starting to see a profit here, aren't we? And all the while, the draw odds have gone from 4.5. This was half time when it goes sideways. No, this would be half time, would it? The half-time market will go sideways. There we go, about 4.3, wasn't it? Now we're seeing that drop down as we're delaying, which means the longer we delay, the bigger the return. And we're trying to get as much profit out of this head start before we bite the bullet and lay that draw. If we miss the goal, if we miss it, we're only going to lose £3.20. But if, like the Atalanta match, you're going to get a long period of 0-0, draw odds will get lower. We'll make more money if we get that goal that we're expecting. Or we could get out with a third of liability as loss, and that would hopefully be covered by this profit here. So I hope that makes sense. It's a new idea, just to give us that go in the second half. Another shot off target for the mighty Hoff. I've already got in at 109 and 106. Do they have a 1-1 in them? That haven't had a shot on target though. Very worrying for the Hoff. Not the greatest side in the world, are they? Or the most reliable. Westerlo, are they going to put a cherry on top for you? Make it 2-1 so you can get out of your +1 with a near 100% return. Because that in that +1 market, that makes it 3-1, doesn't it? They've given a 1-goal head start. So Brentford and Plymouth, still, they've not done anything, Brentford, second half, have they? These are the same stats that we saw first half. So we're doing well to delay, wait for the draw odds to get as low as possible, give ourselves a third of liability as loss, get out point, and hopefully that will produce a near break even for us if we don't get that expected goal by the time we make a third of our liability as loss. So if your liability is £39, you divide that by 3, your loss will be £13. That's your get out. Hopefully you'll have made nearly £13 by laying over 0.5 goals earlier. That's the idea. Valladolid and Betis is very quiet indeed. No shots on target for either side. We can have a quick look at this match. Are there any angles for the second half? Valladolid and Betis. Let's have a look at this one. So we scroll down. Surprising the adverts aren't coming up because I do have the ad blocker off because I wanted to view this. Valladolid look awful. 2 home wins were only 1-0. Real Betis, we tend to see more goals. They've scored and conceded in 6 of their last 7 matches, Real Betis. Again, we tend to see goals before half-time in their match. It's the 46th minute now. It's the beginning of the second half. So it's strange not to see any first half goals. Looking at the recent form, 8 goals conceded away from home for Betis. 7 goals conceded overall for Betis. Not good on the road, are they? But look at this lot. It's woeful. 20th against 10th. Where on earth is that win for Valladolid? Awful. Awful, awful. Where's that second goal? So if they score first today, they have not scored that second goal yet. In fact, they've scored 2 goals only once all season. And there's the Sunderland equaliser. It was a risk. But I hope it's a risk that you took, and I would recommend that you cash out now. So we'll just wait for the market to tighten up. Well done to Sunderland. And thanks to Stephen for passing on the penalty for Stoke. That gave us a little bit more confidence. It wasn't exactly a deserved lead for the Potters. You're not going to be making a massive return because the insurance was big, £11. But if you want to cash out now, again, you add that to your Bournemouth winnings. And if you did the Westerlo match and cashed out, add that to that winnings. And it's all right. So 27 minus 11, 16 quid. It's not too shabby. Up to you if you wanted to wait like you're doing in the Westerlo match to make a little bit more. But this loss is still alive. That's the problem. So I think grab that, stick it in the bank if you want to. As ever, it's up to you completely. Okay. In-play stats might have you more confident in the Black Cats doing the job. Look at Westerlo. They're on the cusp of making it 2-1, aren't they? Now, this is an attacking pressure index of 100 plus. It's always a very positive sign. It's normally suggestive that the goal is about to follow. There's some kind of an equation that they've done based, I think, on possession, shots on and shots off in the last 5 or 10 minutes. When it reaches 104, it can be very accurate in telling you that there is a goal to come. So those of you who went Westerlo +1, you might not want to cash out just yet. You might want to see this bit of momentum through, see if Westerlo can deliver to make it 2-1. That's the kind of thing I'm be telling you if you stayed in the Sunderland after the 1-1. Look for this kind of a recovery from Sunderland to suggest that they could get that second goal. They're not rock hard favourites at home, only evens. So you're taking a bit of a risk if you're staying in the Sunderland +1. But Westerlo is looking rosy, isn't it? And that's all down to soccer stats, isn't it? A little bit of research on that. And wouldn't you know it, those of you who didn't cash out, St Truden have made it 1-2. That is a gentle reminder to you that we are playing these lower tiers. So it's another gentle reminder to you that cashing out earlier on locked in the profit. Now, are you tempted to get involved again? Or are we just going to say, look, this lot of pants, okay? Huge shock, this one, isn't it? Unless we've got Mr. Magoo doing the in-play stats. So a great example. And Brest are leading 2-0. I think that could be an angle, couldn't it? Given what Lyon have done. As I've said in the past, and we saw it with Monaco yesterday against Nantes. 2-0 lead, well worth doing. We saw that with Empoli earlier on. All you need is that 2-1. Oh, Ferrari got the first goal for St Truden. Ito and Ferrari. There we go. This looks a complete against the run of play goal. Big chances. Corner kick 7, block shots 4, shots in the box 9-3. Hit the woodwork once. It's all Westerlo, but it's also the Belgian Jupiler League coming off the back of a winter break. So that's why I told you earlier on, maybe lock in profit. Not the most appealing profit in the world, but that 100 plus attacking pressure index normally suggests a goal, but not for the opponent. Kamara and Ayorke providing the goals for Brest. Now, Monaco managed it. Lyon, are they going to manage it? You've seen this is a good entry point, isn't it? 1.3. If you're going to take on a 2-0 lead, this is a good entry point. Hoff looks like they're not going to be getting the goal, but the quick set of couple of shots on target, 92nd, 95th minute. Really concerted pressure with the shots off. The liability is about £3, so it's not going to affect you too much. Let's have a look at Falkirk. All the while it remains 0-0, and Brentford, all the while it remains 0-0. Now you see with Sunderland cashing out, if you did that with Westerlo, doesn't matter who scores. So let's have a look at Falkirk. Have the draw odds dropped even further? So we're making a £5 profit currently here. We haven't got involved yet here, but the draw is now the favourite. It's now getting odds on. So you can see my idea is to try to get this out of kilter where we've got a head start. Because now what you can do, you could lay the draw now. And if we get a goal, we're only going to lose £4.60, but we're going to be making 36 quid. So it's a nice little technique, isn't it? Brentford as well. 4.4 was it at half time for the draw? Up to £5 now. Profit. Draw getting a lot shorter. Instead of 4.5 to lay it, it's now 2.34. But you're walking on thin ice with Brentford, aren't you? You're expecting the Premier League side to eventually better their opponents. So we'll have a look at that one. But it's great that I'm able to show you these, particularly with two sides who aren't delivering at the moment. The question is, how long do you wait? Because if you miss out, you're going to lose your liability on the 0.5 goal markets. Brest-Lyon, I think, has legs at some point, and you saw with Empoli earlier on. If you do lay that, lay the opponent 2-0 up, you're going to get decent entry point at low odds. So that's something for us to think about. But Monaco did it 2-0 down. Lille away yesterday couldn't score a goal against 10 men. So I don't know if there's something up with these French sides, but we will see. Forest 2-0 up, Chelsea 2-0. Well, it's as you were, isn't it, really? English League 2, Swindon against Crewe. Absolutely no interest there. Greater Tomorrow playing in Gambia today. Nothing else really appealing. So we're just trying to show you about about Brentford and Falkirk. How long can we wait before laying the draw? We're doing all right at the moment. It's odds on now at Falkirk. It's heading towards evens at Brentford. But are we going to see a goal from this 1.38 home favourite and 1.22 home favourite? So it's a nice little technique. When it works like this, it's all about when we enter the market. So just going to test that. Brest-Lyon, I'm going to bring the match up. We'll have a look. Now, if you wanted to play now, as you can see, you're getting double figures about Lyon. All we need is that 2-1, and even better if it comes before half time. Brest conceded 2 goals in the last match against a side not as solid as Lyon, who are involved, I think, in Champions League. So you can start building up a position here with a small back of Lyon as well. No point taking insurance out because you'll have to cover the 2-1 as well as the 2-0 because they're still going to be losing at 2-1. You want to risk a tenner like that, or do you want to just build up to over 100? So any Lyon response, if they score the next goal, this will be superb. But it's a bit of a big liability, isn't it, relative to what we normally do? It's probably because Lyon are a little bit more favoured than usual. 2/3 of the match to go. and you're backing an evens shot at 11s. Not too shabby. Let's go back. Maybe it's time to start laying that draw in the Falkirk match. I had a recent 3-3. 1.85 now. So you're making a £7 profit here. And Valladolid have scored first against Real Betis. So it'll be a full liability for me to lay the draw. And as you can see, it's quite a decent return. So now we've got an exit point at 1/3 of liability as loss. So if you go to the ladder here, it will tell you, looking at 13, you're looking at about 1.44. So once the draw odds get to 1.44, that's our get out. If it remains 0-0, we're still going to be making a bit of money here. We'll get out of this, and we get out of this at 1.44 with effectively a break even while having a good shot at a 46 quid profit. So I hope that makes sense to you, but you've got to be careful that you come back here at 1.44. Hopefully, of course, we could do with Falkirk scoring before then. And a 1.38 shot at home, really, you'd be expecting them to deliver, wouldn't you? Looking at Brentford, obviously not necessarily up for the cup today. Or is this just an overreaction from Plymouth after losing Wayne Rooney, football genius? Far better than 4.3, isn't it? Laying this. Oh, sorry, that's laying Brentford. The draw is at nearly odds on. And similar story, you've got £7 profit already here. So you could lay this, draw, wait for the loss to hit 13. If we don't get a goal, cash out of this, and you'll be making effectively a break even while having a shot at 40 quid for a Premier League side at home against a lower tier side in awful form. So that for me represents a nice punt, doesn't it? We're getting pretty much even Stevens now. We're at odds on about the draw. So it's all about when do we enter the market. We entered it a bit later with Falkirk, but this is a Premier League side. That's what I'm worried about. All it takes is one quick attack and they'll be done and dusted. But no shots on target second half. 3 shots off target, 10 corners. Doesn't look like the Bees are up for the cup, does it? So all the while, just keep an eye on the Falkirk odds. Make sure they don't breach that 1.4 that we're looking at. Brentford, just waiting for the draw to go to odds on. Then we can get an evens return if we can see a goal from Brentford. Just a single goal, that's all we need. It's taking a while to break through the resistance at evens. There we go. So now that's a lot better, isn't it, than laying at the beginning of the second half, assuming the Premier League side will deliver. So yet again, we've got to know our exit point, which will be 1/3 of liability, which is going to be 1.48. So waiting for this to hit 1.48. We've got to wait for the Falkirk match as well, which will hit it first at, well, they're already 7 quid. So you can see we're ahead. We're ahead of the loss, which is how I want it to be. So all the while we're ahead, we're okay. So you can wait as long as you want, really. As long as this is ahead of this. So you don't have to get out with a third of liability as loss if you don't want to. We'll be actually making a small gain if we don't see a goal. So we're nearly there, a third of liability as loss. So we're hoping for a goal, Falkirk and Brentford. Real Betis, well, strange to see the 1.73 shots, a goal down to Valladolid. And Heracles and Sparta would have expected more goals from Heracles, but this is all form pre-winter break. That's why it's a little difficult to carry that form line over and trust it, because we've had that long break. Just look at some of the other matches on the list. Well, we can get rid of a few of these. Reading and Burnley is a 1-1. Burnley, the odds-on favourites there. Get rid of Bournemouth. That's a nice profit there. Looks like Champions League side. No, Premier League side, sorry. All delivering, apart from Brentford today. Swindon and Crewe, no shots on target for either of these two in the English League Two. Could be another one that you could look at laying that draw second half with that insurance, like you've done with the Falkirk match. So we're getting to the point now, a third of liability is loss, and we're about even Stevens, aren't we? That's what we want. We want to have given Falkirk a chance at scoring a goal without it costing us any money. So that's working out well, isn't it? You're giving them a hit at 46 quid. And you can carry it on through as long as this and this match. Because if a goal is scored, we'll lose £4.60, but we could win 46 quid. So as long as these two are on parity, we can stay in for as long as we like. And just hope we get that single goal that we're after to produce the profit. So we'll go back to the Brentford match. It's not going to be there just yet. We've got a suspended market. So let's see. And there's a goal. Brentford, but it's gone to Plymouth Argyle. That's not what we were after. We wanted Brentford to score, but we're still even with the underdog scoring. We're making a profit. Now, I would be getting out of this 82nd minute. You're going to get an assault from the Bees. And you've still made a profit with the underdog scoring, which is excellent, really. But fantastic. It's not going to be the big profit we'd have made had Brentford scored the goal, of course. But that's all right, eh? It's not too shabby. So it's a nice little technique, this. Even with an underdog scoring, you can lock it in. Now we'll be looking some way to take on Plymouth, unless Brentford are up for it or not. Maybe we'll see some late flurry of first teamers coming out in response to this. Wayne Rooney, football genius, is no longer here, but Whittaker as the opening goal. Lewis Potter, Mbeumo, Wissa and Collins coming on. Or is it the other way round? So interesting. We've even made a favourite. We've made a profit despite the underdog scoring. There must be a way for us to take on this Plymouth lead. But if you do the insurance, it's going to be far too high, isn't it? Laying over 1.5 goals is costing you a fortune, really, to win your stake. Ouch. So the only other way of playing would be to get involved now. If you even wanted to back Brentford, you could use your liability and have a real good pop. But let's go back to Falkirk. We haven't had a goal yet from Falkirk. Are these two markets in alignment? £12.59 here. No, they're not. They're going out of alignment now, aren't they? So that does suggest it's good time to get out. Just out of alignment later on. So that's why I say get out at a third of liabilities loss, which would have been 13. So you're making about a 15, 16 pound loss in total here. We've made a 12 pound, 13 pound gain here. So it's cost you 5 or 6 quid to have a go at a 46 quid profit. So I think that's an excellent play. But you've just noted, haven't you, the just going out of alignment just at the very end there. That'll probably be the Brentford equaliser, I would suspect. It's difficult to have a play unless you wanted to back Brentford at 13s. No, they're even at 16s now, so that's not the one. So an interesting technique there. Quite like that. Having a really good punt at 46 quid profit, but just not turning up, are they? Sunderland are looking good, but then so were Westerlo, but we locked in profit, and that's what counted. Brentford, well, you're going to get a real good go now, but they just haven't turned up. I don't think they're up for the cup. Maybe this is something the manager wants to get out of his system to make sure that they have a good go at the European places or a higher Premier League place. Valladolid and Betis, it's a surprise that Valladolid are leading here. We could just, as you can see, they're bottom of the league. Betis, not a very good set of away results against 13th and lower, but Valladolid wins have only been 1-0, but taking insurance out now is troubling because it's going to cost you too much. It's an obvious match for insurance, but not at this stage. That could be the Betis equaliser, maybe. No. It's certainly one for you to look at. So Falkirk, well played that one, about a £3 loss, aiming for a £46 profit. What a pity that Plymouth scored the goal, because had Brentford scored it, you'd be making 40 odd quid there. Westerlo, well, looked like they were mugged, doesn't it? If these stats are accurate, you've got to rely on these in-play stats. Can they get that equaliser? Might be worth a lay of St Truden as late as possible, or you quite simply say, probably not really a league for us to fixate on too much. Well, Brentford just not turned up. I wonder if anyone's watching this one. Shots off target. Plymouth goal from open play. That's the wrong Plymouth. What kind of a goal was this one? This is the only underperforming Premier League side. Here's a goal from open play for Whittaker. The only underperforming Premier League side at home over the last 2 days in the FA Cup. One or two of these sides are not going to be up for it. It's just a puzzle we have to solve. And it looks as if Brentford are the ones who are not up for it. Certainly delaying here and just keeping an eye on this one as well. They are bottom of the league for Valladolid. All their wins are only 1-0. So insurance is going to be too high. That's the problem. 1.81. It's a match for insurance, this one, to cover that 1-0. It's highly unlikely they'll make it 2-0. We'll keep an eye on Brentford, but they're not showing anything at all, really. No ambition with their shots on target. But all the while, Plymouth's odds are getting shorter and shorter and shorter. We had to get out, really, because the draw is actually the favourite. And did you lay Brest 2-0 up? I hope you did, because Lyon have got a goal back before half time. Let's break. I hope I did. Brest is best. Let's have a look. That's the profit you're going to make for that single goal. Now you've got to make a decision. Empoli couldn't score that second goal, could they? Empoli couldn't score it. Do you trust Lyon to get that second goal? Now that's a good risk-reward return, isn't it? Again, we're just accumulating small bits, and you'll probably find at the end of this session, it's heading up towards the £100 mark, isn't it? So it's been a good session, really. We haven't left much on the table. Any losses that have been made have been low liability. So up to you how you play this one. It's a goal before half time, which is why you're getting a decent enough return. So liking that, you could lock it in. Or are you willing to take that hit in the hope, at least, of getting towards a draw, in the hope of getting that £100 to work for you by giving you a bigger green screen? Suspenders, it's probably half time. Or is it a disallowed goal? Or is it a 2-2? It's a 2-2. Wow. Now, you've got to cash out, I would suggest. Take the gift. 2 goals before half time. And that was, again, down to soccerstats.com. Or can you get rid of this 15 quid and have yourself a punt at that 100? Is this a 2-2 as the goal stood? Because Brest shouldn't be favourite if it's a 2-2. So let's just wait for this to settle down a bit. It looks as if this might be VAR'd off. Not too sure. No, it looks as if this is a goal. Now, you've got a decision to make. Are you going to lock in that 34 quid? Because it's a pretty decent return, isn't it? Add it onto the day's takings, and that's lovely. So 2-0 is an ideal entry point, isn't it? Liability's relatively low, and if you get that response you're expecting from your favoured team, all the better for it. So just wait for this to flesh out. It's the big gap between back and lay odds. That's why we're flitting between 30 quid and 26. So just wait for that to flesh out. You could check out how much it will cost you. There, that's probably VAR, or it's half time. Or it's 2-3 to Lyon. I would welcome that, certainly. No, that goal's been disallowed. You could see the market was not too taken, was it? Brentford and Plymouth. You've seen Brentford just no interest at all. So that 2-2 is disappointing. We could have got out there. Brentford not showing any real interest in the cup, are they? But now Plymouth's odds are getting short enough that they could be layable enough. My phone battery is just tinkering, so I'll just charge that. Now, what you could do with the profit you've made, have a really late free punt on the draw. It's not, I'm afraid, it's 2-1. So you could have a punt like that, or a punt like this, and up that to 73 quid if you're willing to take a break even on Plymouth. Are you tempted? It does tempt me in, doesn't it? Or you could delay. You could do again 1.09, because it just, you get that feeling the bees are just not up for it, don't you? But don't forget the draw is in play in the FA Cup. You won't be having a replay, but you get extra time, I would suggest. And a huge gap in leagues suggests Plymouth might just have the fitness advantage in extra time. The only real side at home at 1.6 and over in the Premier League who haven't delivered today. So 1.09, 1.06 is in. I'll lose £4 of my £10 profit, my 14 quid profit, for the chance of winning an extra 50. So I think it's a good enough punt. But quite obviously, the Bees and their manager not too fussed about a cup run. No shot on target since the 15th minute. Sunderland 1-1. Westerlo, well, 20 shots off target, 10 corners, but they was mugged. And that one is a great lesson to you in locking in profit. And then you don't have to worry, particularly the more dodgier the leagues we go down and the more dodgier the teams we go down. If you're lucky enough or crazy enough to have had a go and lucky enough to have made the 1-1, just lock it in. And you don't have to worry. You can add it to your Sunderland profits, add it to your Bournemouth profits, add it to your profits on the lay of the draw in the Plymouth match, and it's all ending up with a pretty decent session. Heracles and Sparta, well, we'll wait for that second half. Would be expecting goals. What a pity that Lyon's second goal didn't count, because that would have been fantastic, wouldn't it? That would have been an extra 30 quid in your pocket as well there. Turin Derby beginning, highly unlikely I'm going to be trading that, but it does strongly favour Juventus. The last win for Torino came in 2015 when Andrea Pirlo got the goal for Juventus. So it's clearly the old lady favoured in that particular match. So let's see whether Brentford have a sting at the end of this match. There we go. That looks very nice, doesn't it? Still going to make a profit if Plymouth go on and win. But if we get the late equaliser, we're going to bang that up to 68 quid. Very nice indeed. Can they do it? We'll soon find out. Highly unlikely, though. As soon as they get rid of Wayne Rooney, football genius, Plymouth start beating Premier League teams. Wow. Amazing stuff. So that tells a story, doesn't it? A lack of ambition. Trying hard, but I think deliberately attempting to get out of this competition as early as possible, with the hope that there's bigger fish to fry. So a well-worked match, that one. Laying the draw, we didn't get the right team scoring the goal. Had it been Brentford, you'd have made 40 odd quid out of that. Look at Falkirk, no goal from them, but we got out of that. Possibility of winning, 46 quid there for about a £2-3 loss. That was very well done indeed. I really enjoyed that one. Low risk, high return. That's what it's all about. So I'll say goodbye to you at 5 o'clock. We'll just see a few of these matches off. Probably nothing to write home about this evening for you. But it's great. Well, we've got some interesting matches. The two coaches your sides are away from home in France, Nice and Marseille. Bayern Munich can be a little troubled post-winter break, so just be a little wary with them. The Turin Derby, hugely favouring Juventus since 2015. But we know Torino can stifle sides. AC Milan Cagliari, it looks a home banker. Ajax at 5.45 coming off the back of a winter break. Are they going to be affected? PSV against AZ Alkmaar. PSV extremely strong home side. Takes a good one to beat them. But they got beaten recently by a very unexpected side, PSV. So they can be beaten. But it was a very unexpected loss against Heerenveen. But that said, if you look at Heerenveen's stats at home, they only lost 1-0 to Ajax, for example. So they can keep it tight. But we're expecting, this is a derby style match, but just expect PSV to be far too good. The La Liga later on this evening doesn't look very appealing at all. Espanyol, Leganes, Sevilla and Valencia, really poor stuff. So very well played, Brentford and Plymouth match. Got out of that with a profit despite the underdog scoring. And that's all about neutral plays. So probably going to be a quiet one for me this evening. I hope you've enjoyed the live stream and I hope you've made some profit, particularly. Locking it in is the story of the live stream. If you lock it in, you don't have to worry. You don't have the heartache of any unexpected goals later on. So thanks very much for coming along this Saturday. Offside Brest. Thanks, Marshmeadow. Goal in the 88th minute at St Mirren. I wasn't playing that. Dundee United, I think, got that win. Brentford goal, says Parkwesi Mensah. Brentford have subbed on Witter and Mbuemo, but it's too late for them. Obviously not up for the cup, Parkwesi, today. And Mark, I'm sorry I didn't get your message. I can't get this pop-up to stay up on all screens. So my apologies for that. I don't know. I'll have a look for some software which could potentially do that. Thanks very much, everybody, for coming along. I hope you've made some profit. Like I say, it's probably going to be a quiet evening now. Bayern Munich stand out a bit later on. Leeds United against Harrogate. Man City against Salford City. Ajax against Valvik. Fat Frank Lampard against Sheffield Wednesday. Football genius Frank Lampard, he said sarcastically. Olympiacos at home to Aris Thessaloniki. Lots of odds on Favs at home today. AC Milan odds on against Cagliari. Sporting Lisbon against Benfica. That's the League Cup in Portugal. Solid sides, both. PSV against AZ Alkmaar. So a few to interest us. Thank you very much, Stuart. Thank you very much, everybody else. Lovely to see you for the first live stream of the new year. Do the same again tomorrow, but with a caveat. If my parents need me to drive them anywhere, I'll have to oblige. My dad's still having problems with his mobility, but he's been okay recently. I've got a vibration machine which he puts his feet on, so that at least works the muscles. I'll be following some of the footy. I'd like to make a bit more money this evening, and it's always nice to watch the FA Cup. 5:45. So we've got a bit of a break now until some of the standout matches. 5:30 for Bayern Munich. I'll probably be back for that. It'd be a big surprise if Torino make anything of the old lady in the Turin derby. Thanks very much for coming along. Great to see you this Saturday, and I will see you again probably tomorrow for another live stream. I haven't checked out the coupon tomorrow, but we navigated it well today. The FA Cup can be a difficult animal. Let's have a look at tomorrow. Premier League begins Tuesday and Wednesday. Might do a live stream for that for members. French Ligue 1 tomorrow. Looking good. Bundesliga. Italian Serie A. All good stuff. Dutch Eredivisie. Twente, Feyenoord out and about as well. Spanish La Liga. Atletico Madrid have been in superb form of late against Osasuna. Belgian Julep League is also a league worth following, particularly these newly promoted sides. Beerschot and Dender, they could both be vulnerable. So it's looking good on Sunday as well. No Croatian football just yet. FA Cup continues. Tamworth against the Spuds. Arsenal against Man United. Crystal Palace to Stockport. And again, watch out for these odds-on favourites in the Premier League at home to lower tiers. They have delivered very well. I would probably put a caveat against the Saints. Relegation threatened Saints. Get rid of this FA Cup. Try to stay up. That's where the big dosh is. Don't want a cup run. You want to avoid that if you're in trouble. Super League tomorrow as well. AEK Athens, Athenian Derby, PAOK Thessaloniki odds on at home. Panathinaikos, all three of the big guns out tomorrow. Olympiakos out today. So it's a decent coupon tomorrow. Just have to navigate it well. Hapoel Beersheva, all hail to the ale, away at Hapoel Haifa. Tend to be a very good trading side. And Italian Serie B, nice to see the lower tiers back again. This will be in-play stats based, but this is the side to follow. Sassuolo, newly relegated, and they are a brilliant trading side. On multiple occasions, they've come from behind in the second half to get wins. Check out this against Cosenza. 60th minute, goal down. Ka-ching, ka-ching. They are well worth having on your side. That was a bit of an aberration, but I think it was a similar story against Palermo, unless they got the late winner. Second half, they're a very good second half goal scoring side, so stick them in your notebook for tomorrow. They are playing a newly relegated Salernitana as well, but brilliant, brilliant side, Sassuolo. Great to see you all. Have a great rest of your Saturday, and I might see you again a little bit later on Telegram, members at least, and see you certainly tomorrow again. Cheers.